It's Thursday, and we're going to talk Thursday night football. We're going to break this down. The Bears and the Packers coming at you on Thursday night. And we're going to break down a few games as well, some of the Sunday matchups, and talk about those also. So let's get into it. We have the Thursday night matchup, the Chicago Bears, the Bears, and the Green Bay Packers. Look, Cheesehead Nation is like they want to win. I'm sure they thought that they could have and should have done a better job against the Dallas Cowboys, and they did not. Aaron Rodgers had some wild turnovers, and I'll talk a little bit about that. And the Bears, 1-5, they've had their struggles. They've had injuries. This team, offensively, especially on the offensive line, is starting to come around. Brian Hoyer, he's hanging tough. He's not being able to stretch the field a lot, but he's making smart decisions with the football. Jordan Howard's come in and done an excellent job in running the football and providing some level of consistency in running the football, giving them some form of running. And Eddie Royal's been a surprise for them as well. Now, Eddie Lacy is looking to be out. So that's going to put a little bit of a damper on the Packers' running game. And let's be real, it ain't been all that great at all. Been a lot of throwing from Aaron Rodgers. So let's talk about this Packers offense. And something that I've noticed is, first of all, the receivers are unable to get separation. And that is something that they've always done a very good job of doing. Jordy Nelson being able to get that separation, Randall Cobb, Devontae, and that opened up things for Devontae Adams and Ty Montgomery. And the timing is off between those guys too. If you notice that one pick, he's throwing and out towards the sideline. He's coming across the field, throwing it towards the sideline. Cowboys defender jumps right in front of it, almost like he never even saw him there. But definitely the timing is off, and you'll see sometimes where those guys are open, and Aaron Rodgers doesn't trust what he's seeing, and whether he doesn't trust what he's seeing or he doesn't trust his receivers to make a play or be where he wants or needs them to be. He's not letting the ball go quick enough either, and he's taking a lot of hits and a lot of unnecessary sack fumbles, and really throwing the ball late and then either getting it tipped, it being incomplete, or turning it over and getting interceptions. And that's something uncharacteristic for Aaron Rodgers. And now with no Eddie Lacy to run the ball, and something they really haven't done that great a job of running the ball. But I think they're going to get back on track today. And it has to start now. It has to start now, especially with Minnesota 5-0. Not saying that they are going to beat the Cowboys, but they're pretty hot right now. And with the balance they have, the defense that they have, Packers have to get the ball rolling in order to be able to compete for this division. Now, when you look at their matchup with the Bears defensively, a little sketchy in the secondary, not always consistent. But when the offense is moving the ball, and I know they're not scoring on a consistent basis, but when they're keeping them off of the field and allowing them to be fresh, they're able to generate a pass rush. They're able to cover pretty well. And hey, let's face it, the Packers haven't exactly blown away or pulled away from anyone. And you would think with the I won't say with the lack of talent in depth in Dallas, you would have thought that they would have been able to take advantage of the secondary, and they were not. And this is without a pass rush because Dallas doesn't have much, if any, of a pass rush. So Bears fans do not need to think that they do not have a shot uh, in being able to contend in this game. Now, the Bears are 19th in rushing, but hey, that votes in your favor because they're not good running the ball. Now, they allow 23.8 points, and offensively, they don't score enough points at 16.8. So, hey, you average that out. If you're allowing 23 and you're only getting 16, you're losing ball games. It's not that hard to do that kind of math, right? And that's the key in this football game for the Bears. You're moving the ball fairly well. I mean, since Brian Hoyer has been in there, you've seen the offensive totals of total offense go up with this football team. And that's great. But now you have to finish. And if they can finish against this football team, they have an opportunity to get their second win of the season and get that second win of the season in Lambeau. But I'm it's bad timing, guys. This Green Bay Packers team has lost 2 games. They lost a game last week in kind of embarrassing fashion to the Dallas Cowboys. All credit to them, but in their mind, they should have been a lot more competitive than what they were. The turnovers were pathetic, and they're going to be angry. And it's a divisional game. It's Thursday night. Aaron Rodgers, after his shot of scotch and reviewing tape, should be looking to be a surgeon on Thursday Night Football, and I think that he will. So I'm taking the Packers to beat the Bears in a good contest. I think this is going to be one of the better Thursday Night Football games we've seen this season. So enjoy it, but I'm going with the Packers Thursday night. Now let's take a look at. We're going to look at 7 games that are going to be played on Sunday. So let's get into those. And first, we're going to look at the New York Giants and the Los Angeles Rams. Case Keenum has been holding it together, holding down the fort pretty well, considering the journeyman has had his team in a lot of games they're fighting. They're going to be in London. And I'm going to take the New York Giants here. They're coming off a win. Odell Beckham has found his groove and, I don't know, found a lady, I guess, in the kicking net. I think it's funny, by the way. I really do. He's been a real sport about it because it was embarrassing that hit him in the face like that. It was. But I'm going to take the Giants here. They're on a roll. I think they're going to be a little bit more prepared, and they're going to be able to take this momentum from this win last Sunday into this Sunday's win. And the Los Angeles Rams are a reeling team, and I think they'll be able to get after them and get some turnovers that will decide that football game. Next, you have the Minnesota Vikings, 5-0, taking on the Philadelphia Eagles. And I'm telling you, I'm taking the Philadelphia Eagles. I know it's a shock, but I'm taking the Philadelphia Eagles, and here is why. My man, Teron Davenport, made a very good point, and I even had thought about this as well. And you can check out his show on Audio Boom on iTunes if you want more in-depth Eagles coverage, Locked on Eagles. So look that up there with Teron Davenport. But he made a statement that if you notice, the Minnesota Vikings have had an issue of running the football. They're not doing that well, especially even when Adrian Peterson was in there. But they're not running the ball effectively. They're not running it to the tune. I mean, Ezekiel Elliott has more yards in, I think, in one game than they have all season. So they're passing the football well. Now, don't get me wrong. They got weapons all across the board with Patterson, with Diggs, with Randolph. They have the weapons across the board to stretch the field. And they like to use the running backs because they're a little bit more athletic to catch out of the backfield and do those things as well. But they're not running the football. Now, if the Eagles can make them one-dimensional, and if they can take away the pass and slow them down in that pass game and force them to run the football, force them to do what they don't want to do, I think they have a shot. And we know how well Carson has played this season. And hey, they were right in that game with Washington, but Washington did one thing well that really was the deciding factor in that game and was run the football down their throats. Now, if Minnesota can do that, they can win. In Philly, I don't think that's going to happen. I think the Philadelphia Eagles are going to be able to make them do something that they are not good at. And that's going to be the deciding factor in that game. I'm taking the Philadelphia Eagles all day. Next, we have the Indianapolis Colts taking on the Tennessee Titans. I like the Titans in this game. Offensively, they're very balanced. DeMarco Murray looking very smooth out there running the football. And if Mariota cannot make the big mistake, hey, these guys are going to have every opportunity, especially with that weak offensive line of the Indianapolis Colts. They can take advantage of that, get a few sacks, maybe a turnover or two. That's going to be the deciding factor. And they're at home. I like the Titans. Next, we have the Buffalo Bills, who are 4-2 and hot as fire, going against the Miami Dolphins. I'm taking the Bills. There's no reason to even talk about this game. Bills are hot. Dolphins are not. Dolphins cannot establish any level of consistency. If they win against the Buffalo Bills, we'll start talking about the Dolphins. But until then, until they can string some things together and look like a formidable football team, there's no reason even talking about it. The Bills win this game. Next, I'll talk about the Baltimore Ravens, New York Jets. Man, can't protect Ryan Fitzpatrick. And I know people are like, well, it's Ryan Fitzpatrick, the journeyman, told you so. But I don't care who you got back there. When you don't have a quarterback, you don't have an offensive line being protected. I don't care what kind of quarterback you have. He's hitting the ground and hitting the turf way too much. And he doesn't have any time to get rid of the ball. He doesn't have any time to find open receivers because the defenders are on him. And I think it's much of the same. That defense, as long as they can have a balanced game, Ravens have been in just about every game. If they can have a balanced football game on offense, as we talked about in earlier shows, that being their identity, being balanced, play action with Flacco, letting those guys stay fresh on defense, they can win this football game. And I'm going to take Baltimore to go into New York and beat the Jets. And our last game that we're going to talk about, New Orleans Saints and the Kansas City Chiefs. Chiefs 3-2. Shaky team. They're not dominant. They're kind of like that bracket car, in drag racing, where it's just very consistent, running consistent numbers all the time. You can write it down and put it in stone that it's going to run the same number every time, and that's pretty much been the Kansas City Chiefs. New Orleans Saints, we know what they have on that offense. Firepower on the outside, slot, tight ends now with Kobe Fleener starting to get involved. They're going to be a tough machine to stop as far as putting points on the board, but can they make the necessary stops to win the game? I'm going to take the Saints. I think they'll outscore them, and I think they'll get a stop and get a few stops when necessary to win that game and go to 3-3 on the year. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening to this show today. As always, you know how to get at us. Email us, straightshootingst@gmail.com. You can talk with me on Twitter at notbland21. Be happy to talk with you there as well. And if you haven't subscribed to the show on iTunes, Straight Shooting Sports Talk on iTunes, subscribe to the show and tell others about it. Well, enjoy Thursday night football, ladies and gentlemen, and until next time, we're out of here.
Yeah! Crab cakes and football! That's what Maryland does!